Folks, today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the themes from our chapter on ethical pluralism. The first of the distinction that's been made is between what are called fundamental rules versus what are called absolute moral rules. I just want to make that distinction first and foremost. To say that a moral rule is absolute is to say that there are no circumstances under which it ought to be broken. In the past, many of the moral theories that we've encountered have had some kind of absolute moral rules that couldn't be broken. For example, Immanuel Kant would say that there are certain hypothetical imperatives derived from the categorical imperative that are absolute and ought never to be called moral when they're broken. For example, lying would count as the breaking of an absolute moral law, and the more overarching one was this idea that we ought to always treat rational beings as ends in themselves and not means to an end. Any breach of that rule would be considered a breach of an absolute moral rule. Now, notice also that we recently discussed utilitarianism. Now, remember that the fundamental or the absolute idea in utilitarianism is always maximize happiness. If we take a course of action that doesn't maximize happiness, we would be breaking the absolute dictate of utilitarianism. Now, absolute moral rules are very convenient because I think in many cases we like this idea that we can find certain principles that are always intrinsically right, other principles intrinsically wrong, and we can always follow them. Now, similar and often related are what we call fundamental moral rules. Fundamental rules are rules that can't be reduced to any more basic rule. Now, let me give you an example. We might say, don't lie. Well, don't lie might be reducible to the categorical imperative. So we might call that one an absolute rule, but one that can be reduced to something more basic. Now, note that if we've said that there are fundamental moral rules, that's not to say that they are necessarily also absolute. Fundamental rules are just ones that can't be reduced to any further ones. Now, one of the advantages of talking about fundamental moral rules is if they are fundamental, they might be basic, but there might be situations in which we might deem them to be worthy of being broken. Because note that some of the real-life scenarios that we've already discussed are ones that oftentimes don't seem to be ones where absolute moral rules necessarily seem to apply. Because in many cases we've said, well, do we really think we want to construct a system where there's no circumstance in which we might not accept the idea that breaking a promise would be okay? To say that the rules are fundamental rather than absolute opens up the gateway to possibly being able to break certain kind of rules from time to time. Thanks. Next one.
Hold on, Dad. Oh my, that really hurt my arms, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I might have been a little shaky towards the end.
I don't mind shaky. You might want to set your arm on something.
Well, I know, but if you wanted me to sit here,
well,
then...
Can you find a way to make yourself more comfortable?
I will do it. I'll show you how to do it.
Thank you so much. You're so...
Did you make Chloe bellow?
Did I make her bellow?
Was that a bellowing I heard?
Probably.
Wait, what?
Did you just go,
No,
Oh.
I did not bellow. bellow. It's just, oh, my arms started hurting. Like,
Well, if he's standing there,
that's what I was doing.
and then can you just do this? Like that?
Okay.
Or like, I mean, here, I would, as I said, like come over here and just put your
Okay.
hands down like this.
Alright.
Yeah, it's a little awkward. But, I mean, you could even move it over more, or even sit in this chair
Yeah.
and,
And the really good news about it is that these are
I did
gonna-
like half an hour of this already today.
These are all going to be really
yeah.
short clips. I'd hoped to do this over the weekend, but I was dumb for thinking I could.
You